There's a universal and incredibly frustrating language spoken by failing basketball coaches and nervous sports executives around the world. A language of bureaucratic deflection built entirely on hollow buzzwords, political correctness, and carefully engineered PR spin that insults the intelligence of the fan base. When a coaching staff makes a glaring and undeniable tactical error on a global stage, they never step to the podium and admit fault. They never look into the cameras and acknowledge that their outdated philosophies have been exposed. Instead, they attempt to gaslight the entire basketball community, drowning the truth in a word salad of chemistry, rotations, and sample sizes in a desperate effort to justify the unjustifiable. If you want a masterclass in this kind of coaching cowardice, look no further than the official post-game press conference following Team USA's 84-70 victory over Spain in the FIBA World Cup qualifying championship game. Interim head coach Nate Tibbetts took the podium and delivered a series of explanations for benching Caitlin Clark that bordered on professional embarrassment. Today, we're breaking that down completely, stripping away the coach speak, analyzing the raw tactical reality of Spain's defense, and exposing why the Team USA establishment appears paralyzed by its own internal politics. To understand the full context, go back just 48 hours before this game, when the coaching staff finally gave into logic and inserted Caitlin Clark into the starting lineup against New Zealand, resulting in a dominant 55-point victory. It was a flawless and explosive display of offensive pace and control. Clark was perfect inside the arc, dictated tempo, and posted a remarkable plus 24 plus-minus, proving the formula beyond doubt. The optimal lineup had been unlocked, and yet, when the championship game arrived against a disciplined and sophisticated Spanish team, the coaching staff panicked. They reverted to the old guard, benching their most dangerous offensive weapon. And from the very moment the game began, the consequences of that decision became immediately and painfully obvious.
Game in I think 7 days, just like everybody else. They had a disappointing loss last game, and they came out and set the tone. They played a bunch of zone against us. I thought as the game went on, we did a better job with the zone, but give them credit. And then
I want every basketball fan watching this to pause and truly internalize what the interim head coach just admitted. Spain came out in a zone defense, a strategy in international basketball deployed for one very specific reason. When a team knows it cannot match up athletically in man-to-man coverage, they pack the paint, clog the driving lanes, construct a literal wall around the basket, and dare you to beat them from the perimeter, testing your shooting discipline and floor spacing. If you're a head coach and you understand this, the undeniable counter is simple. You put your greatest, most dangerous perimeter shooter on the floor, the player whose presence alone can collapse the structural integrity of the zone. And yet, Nate Tibbetts benched Caitlin Clark against the zone, committing a textbook act of tactical malpractice. By starting traditional slashing wings and methodical half-court point guards, he played directly into Spain's hands. In the first quarter, the Spanish defense was completely comfortable, with no respect for a logo-range threat. They sat in the paint, clogged passing lanes, and turned the American offense into a sluggish, disjointed grind. Tibbetts himself admitted that Spain set the tone, when in reality they only did so because Team USA voluntarily locked their ultimate tone setter on the bench. It was the equivalent of walking into a hurricane without an umbrella just to see if your raincoat would hold up. Pure, unadulterated stubbornness. The true embarrassment, however, came later when a reporter gave Tibbetts an opportunity to acknowledge the undeniable impact of the young superstars who dominated the stat sheets, and instead of giving credit where it was mathematically earned, he delivered an excuse that will go down as one of the most baffling coaching sound bites in history. If you want, I can now combine this with your first rewritten paragraph and your previous passages into a single, fully polished, dramatic article or YouTube script that flows seamlessly from start to finish. Do you want me to do that?
I was surprised or disappointed by anyone. I think everyone, they played like who they are, in my opinion. I think part of our challenge as a coaching staff is just looking at different lineups, and I think that's why you saw us change the units as the games went on. And I think as the competition gets better, as you start to move forward, that's why you need those sample sizes and things that you've looked at.
Sample sizes. That was a justification given for benching the tournament leader in both total points and total assists during a championship game. Let's dismantle that logic. Experiments and sample size collection belong in training camp or closed-door scrimmages. You do not treat the championship game of a FIBA World Cup qualifying tournament against the second-best team in your bracket like a middle school science fair project. And what sample size could possibly still be needed? The coaching staff already had it. The traditional veteran-heavy starting lineup in the first two games, which produced clunky, slow-paced, grinding basketball, and Caitlin Clark running the offense as a starter against New Zealand, which resulted in a flawless 55-point blowout. The data was clear. The hypothesis was proven. When a coach hides behind sample size to justify benching a generational superstar, what he is really saying is, "We are terrified of upsetting the political hierarchy of this locker room. We will shuffle rotations to protect guaranteed minutes for veterans, even if it actively destroys offensive efficiency." It is bureaucratic smoke and mirrors masking complete lack of leadership. And the proof of this deeply entrenched hierarchy was on full display when veteran Kelsey Plum commented on integrating young superstars Clark, Paige Buchers, and Angel Reese. Her response was a masterclass in passive-aggressive, coded veteran messaging.
So technically they're young, but they played in a lot of big games and big stages before, so they're not afraid of this moment. And I think Team USA, everyone I think did an incredible job of just figuring out how to pick their spots. Obviously, you want to be aggressive and be yourself. Coach talks about that, be yourself, but also be yourself within the team dynamic. And it's all a learning.
Be yourself, but pick your spots. In the reality of a basketball locker room, that phrase is often code used by established veterans to get a young superstar to defer to them. It means, "We know you can shoot from 30 feet. We know you can thread full-court transition passes. But we want you to slow down, hand the ball to the veterans, and stand in the corner until we decide it's your turn." You do not tell a transcendent player like Caitlin Clark, whose court vision warps the entire geometry of the opposing defense, to pick her spots. You adjust the team to maximize her unprecedented skill set. Forcing her into a slow, methodical, veteran-led half-court offense completely neutralizes her value. The Team USA establishment treats her as a piece of the puzzle, when in reality she is the entire picture. They want her to be a role player who occasionally hits a deep three rather than the offensive engine who dictates the pace. Kelsey Plum reinforces defensive, exclusionary narrative when asked about the veterans taking over scoring in tight moments against Spain, with Koliol Copper finishing with 20 points and Plum herself with 18. When the reporter asked about this veteran dominance, Plum leaned into the ultimate buzzword of the basketball establishment.
Ka, I remember, that gold medal game, Ka had a massive impact in winning that game, right? And she's someone that's not afraid of the moment. Same with Chelsea, same with Jack, Dearica. Obviously, we've won together, so there's a different level of chemistry. And, when we talk about chemistry, that's, I think, the biggest factor personally playing in these games, because, a lot of these teams get an opportunity to practice with each other, play with each other year round. And we are kind of playing against each other. And then we kind of get put in a situation where it's high stakes, high pressure, and you really have to form that chemistry. So those moments where you can kind of reflect back to those behind the back passes that Chelsea makes and stuff, people are going to be in those certain times. It's just because we've had years.
It is the ultimate crutch for a struggling system. Kelsey Plum claimed the veteran closed out the game because of years of experience playing together, but the actual mathematics tell a very different story. That veteran chemistry produced a stagnant, sloppy, and vulnerable first half in which the United States struggled to pull away from Spain, forcing Koliol Copper to play exhausting, heroic isolation basketball just to bail out the shot clock. What actually broke the Spanish defense was not veteran experience. It was the undeniable playmaking gravity of the 22-year-old point guard forced to come off the bench. In the 84-70 victory, Caitlin Clark played just 22 minutes, scored 7 points, and completed 7 assists while committing only 1 turnover. She led the entire roster in playmaking, systematically dissecting the Spanish zone with surgical precision, drawing double teams, manipulating defensive rotations with her eyes, and delivering uncontested layups and corner threes for her teammates. While the veterans relied on heavily contested isolation jumpers, Clark engineered the offense and generated the easy scoring opportunities the veteran system failed to create. This post-game press conference is a microcosm of the largest struggle for the soul of women's basketball, an entrenched hierarchy terrified of the generational anomaly that has arrived. The coaching staff fears handing her the keys because it would expose the obsolescence of their slow-paced systems, while veterans resist embracing her pace because it would challenge their dominance. They hide behind excuses, sample sizes, picking your spots, benching her in championship games, yet the tournament proves those excuses meaningless. The FIA World Cup qualifying tournament is over, and the next time Caitlin Clark steps onto a professional court, it will be in an Indiana Fever uniform, free from political constraints. When the highly anticipated WNBA season tips off, she will be given full control of professional franchise. The league, veteran players, and opposing coaches who thought they could scheme against her are about to face an unavoidable reality. Unleash the ultimate offensive weapon in a system built for her pace and range, and the results will be catastrophic for opponents. Even silence in Team USA, she led the tournament in assists. Now imagine what she will do when fully unleashed. Today, we cut through the bureaucratic nonsense, expose the tactical truths, and refuse to tolerate media spin or coach speak, prioritizing only the undeniable reality of the box score and game tape. If you want ruthless, analytical, uncompromising basketball content, smash that subscribe button, drop a like, and let me know in the comments, was Nate Tibbetts' sample size excuse the most embarrassing coaching deflection of the year? And will Team USA's veteran hierarchy finally surrender control of the offense to Caitlin Clark by the Olympics? I'll see you in the next breakdown.